Good evening, everyone. The hour is 7 p.m. having arrived and passed. Apologies for our technical issues and delays this evening. I call to order the agenda setting meeting for the Woodland Hills School Board for the month of October 2021. Ms. Hawthorne, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Graves,
Present.
Mrs. Seligson, Ms. Lawson,
Here.
Ms. Curry, Mr. Belmont, Ms. Scott, Mr. Patterson,
Here.
Dr. Hildebrand, Ms. Glasser.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence as we record condolences to Debbie and Patrick Records, employees in the district, on the passing of Debbie's mother and Patrick's grandmother, who's Peggy Mesco. Aaron Wall, teacher in the district, on the passing of her mother, Catherine Wall. The family of Charles Cowell, former teacher in the Woodland Hills School District. And to the family of Coach Jim Haverfield, especially his granddaughter who is a senior in high school. Thank you.
You also to a trunk or treat on Saturday, October 28th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Rankin Christian Center. Healing Motion with Legit Fit LLC by Lish Danielle will be held Tuesdays at 5:30 at the Hollander Building located at 910 Braddock Avenue. And the UPMC Health and COVID-19 Vaccine Clinic will be held on Wednesday, October 20th at the Western Behavioral Health Clinic parking lot located at 225 Penn Avenue, Pittsburgh. And I have one other. This is in honor of school board service, so please bear with me. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association to honor a school board director for his many years of service with the Woodland Hills School District. You didn't know this was coming.
I did.
School board service has long been a crucial part of our nation's legacy and its commitment to public education. As the first school boards association in the United States, PASBA has a rich history with more than 125 years of service. The consummate school directors are described as ethical, principled individuals with a deep desire to serve. They believe in the value of our public schools and local control of public education for the benefit of all students. Today, school districts are expected to offer more services along with world-class instruction with limited resources. These expectations provide a tremendous challenge for school directors, unpaid volunteers who give of their time to contribute to the schools and communities they serve. Schools' continued efforts to provide high-quality continuous education to all students during the pandemic further highlights the key role directors play in educating our children. For more than 35 years, PASBA has been recognizing the contributions of dedicated local school directors with long-term service. The honor roll is the association's way of thanking those individuals who exemplified leadership by giving unselfishly of their time and talents for the betterment of the public schools serving students across the great Commonwealth. It gives me immense pleasure to recognize Mr. Mike Belmont, for being part of this rich legacy. Yeah, I hid it under here so you couldn't see it.
Well deserved, Mr. Belmont. Congratulations. And thank you for all that you do. Yeah. Does anyone else have announcements? Okay. Hearing none, that moves us to presentations. I believe we have no presentations. Is that correct?
No present.
Okay. And I also see no registered speakers. Is that correct, Ms. Hawthorne?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, so that moves us to section 2, board matters. Mr. Harris.
Board matters 2.1, we seek to approve all October 2021 board agenda items by consent.
Okay, I guess there's no questions on that one. We elect to do that next week. We will have that option. 2.2.
2.2, we seek the election of the Eastern Area Schools Joint Committee 2021 through 2022. Elected officers, resolution candidates as listed, and approval of the mail ballot resolution 2021 to 2022.
Members will notice that there is no attachment here. This is the time of year when we typically have new officers for the Sunrise Eastern Area Board. There was a weird sequencing of officer change this year, however, and there was actually a change in officers in April. So I am talking with the board president over there, who's talking with the solicitor to determine whether we need to take action on that this month or not. So this may be a tab next week where we ask for no motion. But I'll keep you all apprised of that as we learn more. 2.3.
2.3, we seek approval of the C.C. Miller Memorial Library annual contribution of $11,000 from General Fund 10.
Questions on this? I know we have Ms. Pierce from the library on as well. And if members will review the letter that is attached, you'll note that the request from the library is for $22,000, as it was last year. My understanding from Ms. Shaver is that the budgeted amount in our budget is $11,000, which has historically been our contribution. So I don't know if anyone has questions for Ms. Pierce, but she is on the call if anyone wishes to inquire about that. Anyone have questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Pierce, for being on the call. Should anyone raise questions between now and next week, we'll reach out to you if that's okay. Okay. 2.4.
Board matters 2.4, we seek approval to apply for a Keystone Recreation Park and Conservation Fund 50% matching grant up to $750,000 max to make permanent improvements to the Carnegie Free Library of Swissvale.
Questions on this? Okay, hearing none. 2.5.
Board matters 2.5, we seek approval of resolution 501.21, ensuring the undisturbed use of the facility as a public library for 50 years or useful life of the project as required by the Keystone Recreation Park and Conservation Grant.
Questions?
So just out of curiosity, if something would come up where a new building would become available to put the library in, then what would would that negate this sort of thing, or is that? I'm not
There's a
sure.
potential that the Department of Education could call back that grant if it's within that 50 years. Whether they would do that, we'd have to have a conversation with them about that, but that is the intention is that it gives us that gives them the option to pull back that grant money. If there is,
Okay,
if they believe that it is not met the terms. Any other questions? Okay. Curriculum, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, everybody. We have a few tabs for you tonight from curriculum. The first one is one that we are asking you to vote on this evening if possible. It is 3.1. We seek approval to begin after-school activities at Dixon STEAM Academy to be funded through ESSER II funds. The actual postings for the after-school activities are going to be in personnel, and you've seen those, but we need to approve the programming. The reason we're asking for a vote tonight is that Dr. Purple would love for these activities to start next week if at all possible.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Scott, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Questions for Mr. Wilson on this tab?
Yeah, I have a question, and it sort of has to also do with 3.7. So why are we distinguishing our athletes from our other students as far as the tutoring goes? And this really has to also go with 3.6 as well.
Yep, that's an excellent question. So my understanding is that, well, not my understanding, 3.1 is very much dedicated to Dixon. 3.6 and 3.7 were originally, because we have an activities bus at the high school for the athletes, I believe. And so we were gonna offer tutoring to them as a part of that established protocol. But now that we've moved them under curriculum, that tutoring is available to other scholars. It was originally envisioned for our athletes that are already staying after school.
Okay, that doesn't, so you want to have two different sets of tutors that we're paying for both at Dixon. If you look at 3.7, or 3.7 not going to be at Dixon, not going to be at the high school.
3.7, I believe, is supposed to be for the high school.
No, 3.6 is for the high school.
Those were the tabs originally under athletics. I don't know what 3.7 says.
Says we seek permission to hire 5 after-school tutors for 7th and 8th grade athletes at Dixon.
Then we can scrap 3.7 and it could be included.
Well,
to 3.1.
I'm all for as many tutors as we can have, right? But I don't,
Dr. Pert's on the call. Can she explain? Or
I
she
mean, we have
probably-
hard enough time getting tutors to start with, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
I understand.
but if 3.1 encompasses all after-school programming at Dixon, then we could just eliminate 3.7 and allow for all after-school tutoring to happen at Dixon under 3.1. But I agree, if Dr. Burt's on the call, let's let her chat.
Yeah.
Speak to it. Or Ms. Frank.
Hello. Hi, so I'm assuming.
Good evening,
that-
Dr. Pert.
Hi, how's everybody? So I'm assuming that we're going. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Hello?
There you are. Thank you.
Okay, so the rationale is we're gonna have tutors we're gonna have teachers that tutor the students, and then also we're gonna bring in other individuals to work with our athletes. And the rationale with that is because when the coaches came and they had a parent meeting with the parents, we wanted to enforce that academics is a standard for the students to participate. So that's just an extra level for the coaches to be able to support the students on an academic basis. So not only will they be mentoring the students and working with them as far as athletics, they will also be working with them academically. So it's good that we have those tutors that's coming in to work with the athletes that stay after school.
Okay. Dr. Hildebrand, does that answer the question?
no, but I mean, I can still approve 3.1 and vote the other one down next week. Or vote against it next week, so.
I also have questions about the eligibility of using ESSER funds for a limited pool of students. So if we're going to open that up to everybody, we need to change the tab to clarify that.
Ma'am.
And in addition, I want to make absolutely certain that we are contractually, whether we are contractually obligated to give teachers first pass at any of these positions, because I think that is the case.
Definitely are.
So I appreciate the interest from outside individuals who may not be teachers, but we need to give teachers first pass at that, as we are required to do. Other questions on 3.1?
Right. Just to clarify, 3.1 would be eligible for ESSER funds because that's open to every student.
That's right.
Whereas 3.7 won't.
We need to, I think we should clarify and make sure that we're good on that. But we can talk about 3.7 again when we get there, I guess. We're getting
Yeah.
mixed.
3.6 and 3.7 were, it was my understanding they were gonna be revised before we do the curriculum because we wanted to open it up to everybody.
Okay.
And so we will definitely make sure that we have those revised before we ask anybody to vote on it.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor right now. Other questions on 3.1? Okay, hearing none, let's take the vote.
You having trouble? What's your vote?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. 3.2.
Okay. 3.2, we seek approval to ratify contract agreement with Pittsburgh Mount Oliver Intermediate Unit 2 to provide services for non-public schools as per federal programs. You approved the non-public services for 2 of our contractors last month. This particular tab was not included last month just because the contractual obligation was not finalized at that point. It's ratification because of the fact that by federal law, their programming has to be able to start when our programming starts. So they've been performing services for scholars in their Title I program, Title I programs since August 23rd, which is why it's ratification, but it is just a legal pass through to their contractors that we have to pay, to the non-public schools contractors that we have to pay.
Questions on this? Okay, hearing none. 3.3.
3.3, we seek approval to renew our licenses with Smart Music for a total cost of $7,444.79 to come from ESSER 2 funds. This is another one of the wonderful music platforms that our music department, namely Mr. Shaw with this particular piece of technology, used last year during virtual instruction, and it has really helped us during a time of COVID to help prevent the spread of the disease and to ensure that scholars are able to distance while practicing as well as continue with their practicing and their instrument work while they're at home for any reason.
Questions? Hearing none. 3.4.
3.4, we seek approval to ratify an open purchase order not to exceed $5,000 each for Turtle Creek and Wilkins to supply every scholar one book from the Scholastic Book Fair to come from Title IV funds. This is an idea that actually came from some of our Scholastic Book Fair volunteers and educators who get very sad when they bring groups of scholars down and only a certain handful get to pick out books and get to purchase books. We have Title IV funds that are meant for well-rounded education, so this absolutely falls under that. The reason it's the ratification is because the first of these book fairs is actually this week at Turtle Creek. So we'll vote next week on both Turtle Creek and Wilkins. The only reason Edgewood's not there is because they already did their book fair before we made this decision, but they have additional funds that come from, actually we have some extra funds from the Rankin Book Fair, and then they have extra donated books and donated funds from their PTO that they'll use to make sure that every scholar gets at least one book from the Scholastic collection. All reports are that this has worked out really, really well at Turtle Creek so far.
Questions? Okay. Hearing none. 3.5.
3.5, we seek permission for Eddie Wilson and Renee Engler to attend the annual Pre-K Count Spring Grantee Conference. This is the mandatory conference that anyone managing Pre-K Counts grants across the state has to attend.
Questions? Okay. 3.6.
3.6, we seek permission to hire 5 to 10 after-school math and English tutors for the high school students to be paid for with ESSER funds. Note that I replaced the word athletes with students there because, as I mentioned, we moved this tab from athletics to curriculum specifically because ESSER funds can't single out athletes as a small group. This will be open to all students.
Additional questions on this? Okay, hearing none. 3.7.
3.7, similarly, we seek permission to hire 5 after-school tutors for the 7th and 8th grade students at Dixon to be paid for with ESSER funds.
Additional questions on this?
So, yeah, I have a clarifying question for 3.6, 3.7, and 3.1. My clarifying question is, are we doubling the amount of tutorings in 3.1 with having these 2 alternative tabs?
So
Or is 3.1 inclusive now of the 3.6 and 3.7?
So 3.1 might be inclusive of 3.7. I need to get more details from both Dr. Pert and Ms. Frankie. I believe that it probably is. 3.1 is inclusive of 3.7 because 3.7 is specific to Dixon. 3.1 is not inclusive of the high school, so we're not doubling by having 3.6 on there, 3.6. But 3.7, I believe, is redundant and we will likely end up pulling it from the agenda, but I need to find out from Dr. Pert what she has in mind in terms of, she spoke about other folks helping out our educators. To Ms. Glasser's point, though, our educators would have first right of refusal for any tutoring program. So if there's a co-tutoring program scheduled or programmed, I need to find out more information about that. And I promise that we will get that information to the board well before you have to vote next week.
Okay.
I believe Dr. Perk's trying to speak as well.
Fantastic.
Right, so just to even clarify even further, I sent out a survey and asked the staff who wanted to participate in tutoring, and we only had 4 staff members. So with the amount of students that we have, and we've also sent out a after-school activity slip for students to sign up, we need more tutors for our students.
And thank you, Dr. Perk, for being proactive about that and doing that survey. This may be a question for Ms. Boyd, but I believe we have to post that position and see what teachers respond before we can, formally go to outside individuals. That is
accurate.
okay? So we'll go through that process and certainly would welcome outside individuals if there's not sufficient staff interest, but we have an obligation. And I certainly hope that our staff is responsive, but if that is not the case, and if they're not able to do it, then we can look for other individuals. Sorry, Dr. Perk was saying something else, I think.
She's on mute now.
Okay.
She's muted, right? She's back.
Miss Boyd and her team, they've already started that process. They posted the tutoring position. And we've had only 4 individual staff members who wanted to tutor.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bird. I appreciate that clarification.
Ms. Boyd, how long does the posting have to stay up before we can actually vote? So we're not slowing the process
For 10 days.
for 10 days? Okay. So by next week, this should be fair to vote on? If you already posted it?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay. Other questions on 3.7?
I know there's always a lot of NHS students that need volunteer hours, so you might be able to talk to those, Ms. Blasi or whoever's doing it at the high school, to see if there's select students that might be willing to do that.
Great idea.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. Wilson? Thank you kindly.
Thanks, everybody.
That moves us to section 4, special ed. Ms. Sackle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The Office of Special Education has 4 tabs to present for your consideration this evening. 4.1, the Office of Special Education seeks approval to ratify the tuition agreement with News Story from October 6, 2021 to May 27th, 2022 at a total cost of $51,891. This placement is for one of our students that was at Pace School, but needed a higher level of support based upon limited progress that was being made at that educational placement for the past 3 years.
Questions? Okay, 4.2.
4.2, the Office of Special Education seeks approval to ratify the tuition agreement with Please School for the 21-22 school year at a total cost of $37,750. This educational placement is for a student who is in need of full-time autistic support, which is provided at Please School.
Questions? Okay, hearing none, 4.3.
4.3, the Office of Special Education seeks approval to ratify the staffing agreement with STAT Staffing for the 2021-2022 school year. The cost is $47.88 per hour for an LPN, $52.88 per hour for an RN, and $60.88 per hour for a special assignment, $60.88 per hour for a certified school nurse. I have two tabs this evening for additional nursing agreements. This is the first one. The office is still having difficulty securing nursing supports for 4 students who are in need of individualized nursing services. So I've reached out to many nursing agencies in the county to secure staffing agreements, put the needs out there in the hopes that one of the nursing agencies will be able to help.
Questions on that?
And the last tab, 4.4, we seek approval to ratify the staffing agreement with Interim Healthcare for the 2021-2022 school year at a cost of $51 per hour for an RN or LPN.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Sackler.
Thanks.
Moves us to section 5, school personnel, Ms. Golden.
Good evening, everyone. The Office of Pupil Personnel Services has one tab for the board's consideration and approval. We seek approval to accept the agreement between Reaching New Dreams and Recognizing Talents in the Woodland Hills School District. As you all are aware, this is an agreement between us and Devontae Butler's organization, and they will work with students at both Dixon and the high school. And those interactions or groups, he will hold groups, individual sessions, as well as assemblies when it's safe to do so. And the focus of those services will be on students re-engaging after COVID and overcoming obstacles academically, socially, and behaviorally.
Questions? Yes, Mr. Bowman.
How do you measure the effectiveness of a program like this?
So I think that we measure the effectiveness looking at the discipline for the students, the attendance for students, whenever they know that he's coming. He really does a wonderful job with engaging with the students and, getting them to listen to what he's saying. So I think that primarily through the attendance and the discipline is how we would gauge success.
Can I have a follow-up to that question?
Sure.
So Mr. Butler has done work with us previously, correct? Has he given us any feedback from this previous, do we have any data from the previous?
We don't
things?
have any data, like any tangible data. I'm certainly willing to do that. But we do hear from students and also the administrators what a fine job he does, and they welcome him back into the building just because he's able to engage with the kids so well.
Right, but I'm pretty sure we had that exact same question the last time we paid him to do anything. We don't have that information other than anecdotal.
Yeah.
evidence.
Would you like for me to get some?
That would be spectacular.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Golden.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Boyd.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Personnel, 6.1. Okay, we seek approval this evening at the agenda meeting to create one assistant to the Director of Pupil Personnel at the high school. Job description is attached.
This is one of the items we're asked to vote on this evening. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Scott, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Questions on this job description? Hearing none, take the vote.
Teresa, I'll vote yes.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. 6.2.
Great, thank you. 6.2, we seek approval at the October 13th, 2021 agenda meeting to appoint Marlon Youngblood to the position of Assistant to the Director of People Personnel at the high school, effective October 14th, at a salary of $70,000.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Scott, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Questions on this motion? Hearing none. Take the vote.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. I understand that Mr. Youngblood is on the call. Just want to say congratulations on this appointment. We're excited to see the good work that you're going to continue to do for students in this new capacity with the district, and we're very glad to have you in this role. So thank you very much for taking it on and for being on the call tonight.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the vote of confidence, and I can't wait to hit the ground running first thing in the morning. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
6.3.
6.3. Section A, authorization for leaves. Section B, authorization for retirement resignations. Section D, authorization to hire non-professional staff. Section F, authorization for EDR and mentor actions. And Section G, authorization for miscellaneous.
Questions on this would likely necessitate executive session. These are personnel items. Is there any need to step away? Okay, seeing none. Say thank you, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you.
And that'll move us to section 9, food service and transportation. Ms. Shaver, are you going to take those this evening?
Sure, I'll do that.
Thank you.
So the two board tabs here are for transportation, and we're asking, we're seeking approval tonight. 9.1, we seek approval of the agreement between ALC Schools LLC. This will be in addition to our regular contracted transportation services. And where they'll be helpful is for those special needs students and those students that are out of district that are very hard to provide transportation for. ALC Schools actually has specialized vans as well, which could enhance. We have a lot of trouble sometimes finding transportation for our students who are placed in educational institutions that are outside, way outside the boundaries of Woodland Hills School District. So we're seeking approval so we can get an agreement with ALC.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Scott, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Questions or additional information needed from Ms. Shaver? Okay. Hearing none, we'll take the vote.
Yes.
Mr. Patterson?
He stepped away from the meeting for just a moment, so we'll give him a second.
Okay.
Yes, I got kicked out. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do you want to vote by voice for this, or are you able to access it on your computer? Mr. Patterson, we're considering item 9.1. Are you able to vote on that, or would you prefer to?
I was looking for my board docs. I can't find it.
Okay, are you able, are you in a position to vote on
I'll
that?
vote yes.
Okay. I need to take a verbal.
Okay,
Mr. Graves,
Yes.
Ms. Seligson. Yes. Ms. Scott. Yes. Ms. Lawson.
Say it again.
Ms. Lawson. Ms. Curry. Dr. Hildebrand.
Yes.
Mr. Patterson. I did hear your yes.
Yes.
Mr. Belmont.
Yes.
Ms. Lawson.
we'll mark Ms. Lawson absent. We'll mark Ms. Lawson absent at the time of the vote.
Okay, and Ms. Glasser.
Yes. Motion carries by a vote of 8 to none with 1 absent at the time of the vote. Ms. Shaver, 9.2.
Okay, for tab 9.2, we're seeking approval at tonight's meeting to partner with Kids Right LLC. Kids Right LLC would be an additional resource for some of our transportation needs. Along the same lines for those students that are out of district. There is no contract attached because it's all done online where you actually, all the forms, there's waivers, there's intake forms. The drivers in both of these scenarios are all have clearances and are on a as per needed basis. So the district's not committing to anything at this time, just the relationship.
Questions?
Yeah, who controls this? Is this controlled out of the transportation department or does
Because it's,
principals have the access to be able to order these rides for students at their
you know,
building?
this is probably more at an administrative level, like whether it's through the special ed department or with Dawn, with our out of district students.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yes, this is going to be set up not by the parents, but by administration to have. Okay.
Well, so in Kids Right, in the place of Kids Right, it's going to be a joint effort because the parent or guardian has to be the one that signs the waiver. They have to set up the emergency contacts. The administrator will be the ones that will reach out and say, hey, can you provide this transportation? And then the follow through will be the intakes forms, the waivers, and then the district follows through and they'll agree to pay. So it's a combined effort to get this transportation set up.
If this isn't like, okay, so this isn't been a rapid turnaround type thing. This is,
No, this is just trying to meet the needs of
Okay.
our students that don't have transportation right now.
So can I ask, because so this is something that's set up previously for the rest of, from that time period on. This is not something where a student finds itself that particular day not having a ride, and then we use these services.
Correct. Yeah, this is for let's say if a student has to travel, is out of district in Butler, for example, that's probably the best one. And they have to come in and go to a school that's in the city of Pittsburgh. That's hard for to get our buses, for a student to drive out that far, to pick up the child and bring the child back. So we're looking for alternatives so we don't pull from a very shorthanded fleet as it is right now.
Understood. Thank you.
okay, but so once it's set up though, it will be a recurring thing.
So it'll be like per child arrangement, for example, and then once we get bus drivers available or more opportunities to like say, hey, we can cover it ourselves and we can back out. But it's not like a day-to-day thing. Like I can't get, the bus broke down. No, this is gonna be set up for like specific, basically for
Okay.
for transportation with special need, whether it's out of district or where we have to take the child much further outside the district for education.
Other questions? I'd like to clarify terminology a little bit.
Okay.
You said out of district students a number of times. I don't want anyone to think that we're educating students who are not our responsibility because of their placement. So when you say out of district students, what does that mean? Who are we covering there?
Okay, so what that basically means is our homeless student. I've been told it's more politically correct to refer as out of district.
And I appreciate that, but I do want to clarify, these are students that we are obligated
Correct.
under, because they remain our responsibility until they are permanently housed somewhere else.
Correct.
These are students that we are
Right.
obligated to transport and educate.
It would,
Let because because under the federal law, they remain our responsibility until such time as they are
Right.
established elsewhere.
Correct.
Right, and we want to care for them and we want to provide that
it
education.
would be for students who have residential locations outside of our home district for various reasons.
Right, but who remain our educational
They're still our
responsibility.
responsibility,
Exactly.
but they are housed outside of our local district.
Right.
But they're still our responsibility.
Also note, I don't know the exact statistic we have, quite a few.
I'd probably defer to Ms. Golden.
But I don't remember our last set, but I know there's. more than just one.
It's a significant number.
Yeah.
It's a significant.
Does that include scholars who are in like temporary foster placements outside of?
Yes.
It may,
Okay.
Yes.
it may.
Okay,
It
so
could.
it's not just those without permanent addresses for now, it also includes other students who have unique circumstances.
I'll let Ms. Golden speak to that if she can, to the extent that you're able to do that.
Okay, can you repeat that for me, please?
Yes, I just was curious about the number. I know our numbers have always been pretty high.
Yes, so this year we have, I just got the number from Ms. Irwin this morning, about 47, which is significantly lower than what we had last year. We're still pretty high in the foster care area. I don't have that exact number, but that's still pretty high for us.
Yeah, I just want to make clear to anyone who may be listening that we remain committed to the education of these students. Because in spite of their unstable situation, we want to make sure that they have a stable place with us here, and that provides some stability in their world, which is the goal and intent of the legislation, as I understand it. So, but I don't want anyone to think that we are taking on students who may not be a part of, who may reside in other districts or anything like that. That's always been something that's underlying, but yeah. So I hope that's clear. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah. Does anyone have other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Shaver. That moves us to buildings and grounds. Mr. Finney.
Do we
Do we need to
have to
vote?
vote on
Oh, I'm
this?
sorry. Goodness. Okay, yeah, hearing no further questions, we'll take the vote on 9.2.
It's going to be a verbal.
Okay.
Mr. Graves,
Yes.
Ms. Seligson.
Yes.
Ms. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Lawson.
No. No.
Curry.
Yes.
Dr. Hildebrand.
Yes.
Mr. Patterson.
Said yes.
Mr. Belmont.
Yes.
Ms. Glasser.
Yes, motion carries 8-1. Now we move to buildings and grounds. Apologies. Thank you all for keeping me on track. Mr. Finney.
This is like Mr. Finney's shortest tab ever. I must admit.
You are jinxing us. We're gonna have 18 tabs. next year.
Yeah.
Actually,
He still has a week
the
to add.
technology tab.
I know, right?
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, Buildings and Grounds has 5 tabs. 10.1, we're seeking approval to accept the revised proposal from Paragon Furniture for the Woodland Hills School District Purchase Order Number 212 20181 in the amount of $212,307.61. It's an increase of $23,740 for the installation of the furniture purchased for the math language wing of the high school to be paid from Capital Project Fund 39. We board approved August 11th, 2021 for $188,567.61. So that's where the increase of the $23,740 comes from.
Questions, for Mr. Finney? Can you speak to the cause of the increase?
Yes, the recommendation of the, I'm sorry, the wrong one. The increase of the $23,740 is being added because the original amount was calculated using an older price list quoted without installation.
Other questions? 10.2.
10.2, we're seeking approval to accept proposed change order GC 102 for Vendrick Construction, Inc. in the amount of $7,657.85 for the unforeseen work required to revise the concrete slab on grade in the rifle range from Capital Project Fund 39. It is,
Motion?
I'm sorry.
No motion. Sorry, questions? Okay, hearing no questions, 10.3.
10.3, we seek approval to accept the proposed change order GC 105 for Venture Construction, Inc. in the amount of $861.35 for door hardware. This is due to the frame and the door needed rework to accept the new hardware from Capital Project Fund 39. This is in the SA wing, the old bathrooms that were there. So the original door hardware has already been installed, and the new hardware will not cover the old holes in the wood door. And per the district, we requested new locks to be put on these doors, so that's why the change order is. I'm also going to ask, because between last week and present, it's become safety issues with these restrooms, so I'm asking if we can board approve this tonight.
Hearing that, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Scott, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any additional questions or discussions from Mr. Finney on this one?
Yes.
Just so I can sleep tonight, you're not talking $61 just for doing all the latch and all that, but there's more.
It was more work due to the door frames and everything, yes. It was all gutted, so none of it matched up correctly.
Gotcha.
These are the restrooms, they're faculty restrooms in that.
The old faculty restrooms in the ESA wing, yes, right by the maintenance door going down.
Yep, okay, very good. Other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll take the vote.
Mr. Graves,
Yes.
Mrs. Seligman,
Yes.
Ms. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Lawson,
Yes, that's yes.
thank you, Ms. Curry,
Yes.
Dr. Hildebrand,
Yes.
Mr. Patterson,
Yes.
thank you, Mr. Belmont,
Yes.
Ms. Glasser.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Well, if we can mark that for next week so that I don't call for a vote again on that one. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you. 10.4.
10.4, we're seeking approval to accept the proposed change order GC 103A from Vendrick Construction, Inc. Work to be done by GBL Construction LLC in the amount of $17,334.87 to be paid from Capital Project Fund 39.
Questions? I'll remind, oh, sorry, go ahead. Ms. Ball.
Can you explain what this is?
Yes, that we were given three options, A and B and C, which the attachments are for the fabrication lab floor. So with the options A, B, and C, A, we have a 10-year warranty for the Ardex Level Master Elite warranty. B, there's only a 5-year warranty. And then option C, there would only be a 2-year warranty. We just feel that it would be best in the school district's interest that we would take the option A for the flooring with the 10-year warranty.
Questions? Okay. Hearing none, 10.5.
Bob, 10.5.
Oh, I'm sorry. 10.5, we seek approval to permit the use of Woodland Hills School District facilities for the stated events.
Questions? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Finney.
Thank you very much.
That moves us to section 14, school finance. Back to Ms. Shaver.
14.1, we seek ratification of the bill list for invoices paid after the September 15th, 2021 legislative meeting.
Questions on the ratification list? Okay. Hearing none. 14.2.
We seek approval of the October 2021 bill list.
Questions on the bills? Okay. Hearing none. 14.3.
14.3, we seek the acceptance of the September 2021 fund financial reports and student activity reports for informational purposes only.
Questions on the activity reports? Okay. 14.4.
14.4, we seek the approval of the investment reports for September 2021.
Questions on investments? Okay. Hearing none, that moves us to old business. Is there any old business? New business? Okay. That moves us to reports. We have with us this evening for the first time our student representative. So. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Lindsay. I'm a senior at the high school and I'm vice president of student council. We have actually a lot going on at the high school right now. We just had a very successful Spirit Week. We had a lot of participation, which is actually very new because since I've been in student council, which has been since freshman year, we haven't been having a lot of people participate. And we just had our homecoming pep rally, which was also very successful. A lot of people loved the outdoor setting. Besides that, in student council right now, we have student of the month. This month was Madeline Douglas, who had a very great bio, and sophomore Grace Moon. Other than student council, we have FBLA, which has been doing some fundraising for their Kalahari trip. And in NHS right now, we actually are working on the induction. I'm in the induction committee. We're planning to have that in a few weeks. I also heard someone mention something about tutoring. I could bring that up in the meeting next, actually Tuesday on October 19th. If you guys would want that. I can mention. Okay. Yeah, I can mention that. There's a few clubs that are just starting up actually. 12 Deep, the Black Student Union, and Stand Together. We haven't really heard much on that, but I'm hoping at the next board meeting, the student rep can talk more about that. Homecoming actually did get postponed. We're planning to have it October 23rd, 5 to 9 p.m. We are requiring negative COVID tests. We had student leadership had a meeting with Principal Mans about that. She talked about having COVID tests provided by the school actually. If I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure it's 48 hours before the dance. And it's going to be in the lunchroom. And we're opening the courtyard to make it safer for COVID so that there's more areas in an outdoor setting and the parking lot next to the lunchroom. But other than that, that's all we have really going on besides senior rec.
Well, thank you very much. We're glad to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. That moves us to committee reports. So we'll start with strategic planning update, Mr. Harris. Want to recap that a little bit?
Okay, strategic planning meetings are going really well. Been working with the AIU. We've had surveys that were out. Coming back, we will be able to present the strategic plan at the board retreat on the 30th.
That's correct.
We also have, we'll discuss later on who's going to moderate it. We have a gentleman who we've reached out to who's going to be able to moderate the event. So far, so good. We're right on track where we plan to be. And we'll be presenting it to the board that Saturday Saturday afternoon.
And we'll get details to everybody about time and all of that.
Yes.
Okay. Curriculum, Ms. Scott.
So this month, curriculum committee, we spoke about ESER 3 updates, especially with regards to the music equipment and facilities. We talked about potentially developing a social media and digital citizenship curriculum across the district. We talked about Pitt's Center for Urban Education and their involvement with our scholars. Capital budget requests, the Scholastic Book Fair free books, which Mr. Wilson spoke about earlier in tonight's agenda. And then student enrollment and withdrawal update from Sarah Keeler on our staff here.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Human personnel and special ed, Ms. Seligson.
Would you mind taking my tabs? Or
Nope.
details since I wasn't here.
Happy to do that. So we did have discussion about re-enrollment information. Ms. Keeler provided a great deal of information about that and information about feedback we're getting from families on that. Ms. Zach will provide an update on the universal screener for gifted, which will be given to 3rd and 7th grades students this year because we missed last year. So it will be the cohort that would have taken the test last year. That will happen from November 15th through the 24th. We're looking forward to those results. And the district is in the midst of cyclical monitoring, which happens every few years for us. And there will be information shared there throughout. Ms. Zach will provide a timeline, which will run through this school year and make sure to involve everyone, all the stakeholders there, including parents, students, and teachers. The technology committee report was very brief this month, which is to say there was not items for discussion in technology committee. So that moves us to athletics. Mr. Belmont.
We covered 2 items, looking to staff the tutoring program for the high school student athletes. Then Ms. Frankie is a former student athlete advisory committee group to interact with other organizations. That's the extent.
Okay. For facilities, we had our monthly update from SiteLogic, including the high school project and also discussion about the climate temperature issues at Wilkins. Ventilation is solid, but there's still temperature issues in that building that we are working to address. Board members will have seen that there was an update from Mike Arnold with a proposal for that. And if anyone did not see that, let me know and I'll forward it on to make sure we get that. There was an update on the high school soccer field after a flooding incident. Mr. Finney has updated the board about the procedures going forward in terms of grooming, refilling the field with chips as necessary, and the maintenance that will occur there as well as on our other turf surfaces. We do have the equipment to maintain those fields, and the field, although it was pretty significantly flooded and looked pretty bad on that evening, is in good shape and is safe for use, which is a relief for all of us. We also discussed a proposal from our friends at Heritage regarding the Rankin Building and a potential extension of their lease here in the short term to enable and facilitate further discussion about the potential transition to Rankin for them. As part of that conversation, we also discussed capacity in our buildings should we require additional space for students as we are seeing enrollment tick up just a little bit. Our new waste management contract includes presentations and assemblies for students, which will be taking place this week, it appears, based on the dates that are on the agenda. My recollection was next week, but it just appears to be this week. And so that will be hopefully very interesting for the students to see how recycling works. We updated on our building ventilation systems. Mr. Finney was happy to share with us that our replacement rate in our buildings is 4 per hour, which is pretty strong as I understand it. And that is true in all of our buildings. We have very solid ventilation systems, which is of course of grave concern at this particular moment, given COVID. And Mr. Finney and Ms. Shaver discussed the need for insurance waivers for facility rentals to ensure that the district is covered for organizations that may not have insurance on their own. That's what we had for facilities. As usual, there was plenty to discuss. Which moves us to finance, Mr. Graves.
In finance, we discussed the remodeling of the Swissville Library. That's a constant discussion for us. And also the finance budget for 2021. We're still trying to increase the budget, but also find funding for all the allocations that we need. And that's an ongoing struggle for us to have a positive reserve. So that's it.
Thank you. And following on that, would it be possible to post that recap slideshow on the website? I think that will be helpful as we do with our budget presentations in the spring. I think it will be good to put that out there. It was a very, very good recap of the closeout for that's happening now. So thank you for that. And that was us to food service transportation. Ms. Curry.
So we talked about the contract with ACL Transportation for special needs and for hard to get transportation as needed. And we talked about Kids Ride, which is like Uber contract as needed, which Shaver talked about earlier, and other ways that we can offer transportation to our kids that are still missing that. We offer Port Authority, and some families were able to reimburse if the parents have to.
Okay.
I think that's all I had. I was driving. So if I missed anything, please.
I think you covered it. All right, thank you. Any other reports from the board? Okay. Thank you all for that. That moves us to public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? I don't believe there's anyone in the room who will do that, so we'll turn to the Zoom. If you wish to address the board, please use the raise hand function on your Zoom. Reminder that anyone who wishes to speak has 2 minutes to do so. Should give their name and place of residence or affiliation with the district and share comments. Just give it 10 more seconds. Okay, hearing none, section 20, Mr. Harris.
Okay, section 20. We seek permission to adjourn the October 13th, 2021 agenda setting meeting.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Selig, second by Ms. Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.